Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for another edition of NSR Wrestling. I'm Peck.
I'm Chris.
And, what we're going to get into is, for a period of time, I believed that I had given up on TNA completely. Because Rob Van Dam, as you might well know, has gone back to WWE. But after sitting through the shit that was WWE Payback and then reading the results of SmackDown, I shook my head, said, oh no, and realized there's no way I can possibly get through this. I'm going to watch the pay-per-views just to see RVD and WWE one last time, but I don't think I can do much more.
Well, is this the final run, too? I mean, is it the... I don't think.
I don't know. What I want to know is how he gets around the drug testing policy.
If there is one.
I mean, he's an admitted marijuana user, which, hey, I have no problem with it for medical purposes or recreational use. To me, as long as you don't drive a vehicle, I'm okay with it. And as long as you're, not a minor, obviously.
I mean, there's more talent for him to wrestle there, but...
Is there really, though?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, quantity is sometimes not as good as quality.
I mean, either promotion, you have aging stars.
Exactly.
But I think TNA... for a period, they did have people that could work more of an RVD-style match, I mean, imagine what him and Magnus would be like.
I'd love to see it if they put it on television or pay-per-view.
Here's my problem. Is it going to be RVD coming back to face something stupid like The Shield and be part of a mixed tag thing, or am I actually going to see like an Intercontinental title run?
I doubt it. I mean, it looks like he's on limited dates for now, so they have a storyline.
Not necessarily. I mean, Brock Lesnar's on limited dates, too. RVD's limited dates are Monday Night Raws that are live.
Yeah.
Or, he just won't work live events. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as long as he's on TV, that's a good contract. Really, he was doing the same crap with TNA. You remember when we went in 2010, and we weren't able to see him, and I was very upset, because that's what I paid for my ticket for.
Well, the problem with Van Dam at TNA is it was A, very forgettable, and B, I don't know if he just didn't want to do anything, or they wouldn't let him do anything, or he just didn't feel like doing anything, but he didn't do much.
Well, I mean, there were times in TNA when his opponents just couldn't physically go. I mean, you remember all the matches he had with Jerry Lynn, where Jerry Lynn would get kicked in the head and be sluggish the rest of the match.
Yeah, it was kind of like, back and forth sluggishness.
I mean, there were a couple of spirited efforts. I remember Lockdown, the opening thing, him and James Storm, that was really good for about, 10 minutes. Then we had RVD versus Abyss at Bound for Glory, which was another botch thanks to TNA not signing to enough dates. Otherwise, he would have been the world champion still.
Yeah, how do you do that?
TNA.
Excuse me. Like, how do you sign a guy on limited dates and then make him your world champion?
So let me just follow you through my timeline here and thought process. A couple of months ago, I hear that Rob Van Dam's contract has not been renewed. I flip out. Immediately start talking about what an oversight this is. How could they possibly risk letting him go? But I always figured he'd go back to TNA because of the drug thing. Well, months go by. I'm still mad at Dixie Carter. I'm still mad at Hulk Hogan. But there's no movement. I figure, okay, maybe he's just taking some time off. For the first time in years, since Daniel Bryan won the World Heavyweight title and I gave up on WWE completely and watching their pay-per-views, I go watch a pay-per-view, Payback, and they show a video package and announce Rob Van Dam returning at Money in the Bank. Now here's my question. Why do you just announce that he's coming back next month? Why don't you surprise people? Why don't you have him show up on Raw? Why don't you have people actually tune in instead of spoiling the whole surprise?
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. With Van Dam, it's better as a surprise, but...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's just horrible. So, I sat through this god-awful 3 hours of shit.
Typical.
I had to deal with Dolph Ziggler being in a main event. I had to deal with Daniel Bryan being in the second-to-last match. And I had to watch the worst ever ambulance match I've ever seen, but it was very comical. And, I don't know. The more I just read the results and whatnot, I just realized it's going to be extremely difficult for me to keep up with WWE and not just give up on them. Again, I had completely quit TNA, and then Hulk Hogan goes on Twitter, heard Rob Van Dam went back to WWE. That's not me or Dixie Carter. That's a Bruce Pritchard deal. I'm like, well, it's still your fault.
Yeah, apparently you guys weren't in the loop.
Apparently you weren't good enough friends with him to get him to come back, you fuck.
What is Hogan really producing? Nothing.
Nothing at all. I mean, yeah, there are people that cheer for him, and they already buy... But a lot of the people that show up already have his old merchandise, and they wear that. They don't buy his new stupid Affliction-looking t-shirt.
Well, anytime the guy's on TV, I don't think I've even heard him talk about TNA. It's always something else. So what is he...
Right,
I mean, is he really doing the job or not?
when he's not on TNA, I can't remember what pay-per-view he's promoting. It was either Slammiversary or Bound for Glory last year. And all they asked him about was his daughter, his future career moves, and his sex tape. I'm like, I don't care. I want to hear about the pay-per-view, which you said at the beginning you were here to plug.
Big mistake by TNA. I mean, to bring that guy in.
So, while we're in the realm of WWE, we have the most unbelievable feud in wrestling history. Now, I know pro wrestling is fake, pro wrestling is staged, but there are certain matchups that just make you go, come on, really? Really? Am I really supposed to entertain any notion that he can actually win? CM Punk, great wrestler. Have nothing against him. SummerSlam, they're doing a program with Botchamania, Brock Lesnar. I know CM Punk calls himself the best in the world. I will not give him that title yet. There are plenty of other wrestlers I think are better. He might be the best in WWE. Actually, no. Chris Jericho is the best in WWE. I'm sorry. Punk, you're not the best in the world. But I don't see how this is physically possible. He's going to die. Put it this way, if Brock Lesnar is able to hurt Triple H's arm legitimately, and Triple H has spent that much time in the gym and that much time lifting, and he's outpowered by him on half speed, what do you think he's going to do to 205-pound CM Punk?
It's not going to be good.
It's just going to be a really big... You remember the Hulk Hogan-Shawn Michaels match, how much flailing was going on? But that was Shawn Michaels just being a dick?
Yeah.
We're going to see that from CM Punk. He's literally going to get thrown around like a rag doll.
And it's like, who cares? Like, why should I buy, a ridiculously overpriced pay-per-view now? They're like $50 a pop. To see that, it's garbage. It's always going to be garbage.
It's good for comedic effect, honestly. But WWE, other than that, it's not fun.
They will never give you fully what you want because they want to keep you on. So they just string you along and they give you storylines.
They give you what you want at WrestleMania. They don't give you what you want the rest of the year.
That's to keep you going, keep you interested. I mean, it's just like,
They push and de-push all the wrong people. And I like that they're pushing Mark Henry and had him take out John Cena and he's getting a title shot. But if he's already going to win and then we have to sit through Daniel Bryan and Cena at SummerSlam, I'm just not going to watch it. I'll leave before the main event. I have no interest in either one of them.
I didn't even know Mark Henry's still there.
He faked that he was going to retire on Raw and then attack John Cena, which was pretty funny. I like that.
He never really did much for me.
You're still mad because he was supposed to show up in 1996, and then you didn't see him for 2 years.
He's notorious for being hurt.
Let it go. It doesn't matter.
It's just a waste of a contract, but that's just my opinion.
No, a waste of a contract is Hulk Hogan.
Well, that too.
At least you got a world title reign out of Mark Henry in some of the funniest moments in wrestling history.
We gotta do a future podcast. The top 10 worst, wasted contracts and why. We'll do that one time.
Actually, I think we can actually do that next. It won't take long to compile a list.
Figure them out.
Really, all that we have to do is order them. We have Kevin Nash, we have Hulk Hogan. We're just teasing this for the future.
Yeah, we
already, I think we have a good idea here of the top 10 right now.
Oh my god. Well, and then I heard McMahon might be fighting Triple H.
Why?
Exactly.
2 years after, he said, I'm too old to be doing this. I'm not going to participate in active wrestling matches anymore. We have to sit through that again?
He'll do it until he's dead. But they don't know what, There's tons of new talent they got. They don't use any of it.
I don't really... Well, yeah, they do. Curtis Axel got pushed right to the moon, finally, and he's Intercontinental Champion already.
That's what TNA needs to do. They need to start just pushing people.
But I don't feel like...
Yeah, this weird pecking order there.
He's okay, but the problem in WWE is you have to be best friends with Triple H like he is to get a push.
Well, yeah, these guys are too, green, too, a lot of these guys. I don't know, Curtis Hennig, whatever his name is.
What a Axl Rose. He's not a bad wrestler, but there are so many more interesting people on the roster.
That's why you need territories and stuff again, because you get that,
And they keep, teasing the return of Christian, and I don't know that I could be more apathetic about a wrestler ever.
Christian did nothing for me, and he wasted time in TNA, and he wasted, time in WWE, so... Whatever.
I gotta be honest, in the ring, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with him.
Just boring.
He just looks weird.
Just boring.
He has that awkward, lanky body type.
Yeah.
And, I'll go back and watch some of his matches and be like, wow, that was actually pretty good, but as a character, just completely stale, can't cut a promo as a heel, but can't quite get over enough as a face.
He has D'Lo Brown syndrome.
No, he's a bigger talent than D'Lo Brown, but there's just something about him that you're just not interested in.
Is he like the Nick Cage of wrestling? Just the same person?
Well, I guess they decided to give him the name Christian Cage,
Ugh, no pun intended.
which made no sense.
So, like, I mean, what? Like, you think Van Dam will even stay that long? I don't even see him staying.
I see him staying, and
Like
I
a
see
year.
him working a Brock Lesnar-esque schedule where you don't see him for 3 months, and he comes back and sets up something else. My problem is, you have somebody that was a one-time WWE champion that should have won the belt in 2003. We all admit that.
Yeah.
You know, should have won King of the Ring against Lesnar. Had so many opportunities. Put on some of the best matches. They didn't put a strap on him until 2006. I liked how they did it, but it could have been years earlier, when everyone was younger.
Yeah, I know.
And, now what? You're going to throw him into the Intercontinental picture? You're going to have him maybe feud with Dolph Ziggler and lose? I'm sorry, but Mikey from the Spirit Squad, Rob Van Dam, they're completely different things.
Yeah, I don't see it. Well, I heard that Zeb Coulter's got a new guy.
He does, Antonio Cesaro, and we'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah, there's a couple questions I have about that, but okay.
We'll get to that in one sec. But, RVD, look at this guy for years was the biggest underground secret in wrestling history.
I know.
He was the best wrestler. Well, I won't say he's the best wrestler in ECW, but he was the most well-known. And he got a company from Eastern Pennsylvania that few people had ever heard of, and he put them on the map.
Yeah.
And he actually wrestled on Raw and got exposure for ECW while he was still working for them.
Well, and
beat some WWF talent.
Here's where WWE teases people. Like, they say they're going to push him, then they don't. They pushed Rob Van Dam to the moon in 2001. Like, when he first came in, man, he was just beating the crap out of people. Almost won the world title and all that. But then in 2002, it just ended. Like, nothing happened.
Oh no, he got title matches from 2001 until 2004, but they never put the belt on him.
Well, I even would say 2002 be pushing it. Like, 2003, he was in a crappy tag team with Kane. He was very limited.
When did he, was 03 or was it 02 that he had King of the Ring against Lesnar? I want to say that was 03.
That was 02.
It was 02. Okay, so he had a really good run then. I remember he
then
beat
after
Jericho
that, it
in
died.
the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it died in late 02.
When they sent him to SmackDown. Because remember he was in the tag team with Rey Mysterio. And
that was 04. But I would think 2002 was like the end of RVD. Like,
the end. It was just the end
mid-card.
For a while.
He didn't do they put him in that crappy tag team with Kane. Then I don't even know they feuded, and then
here's
it
the
just
thing, though.
died.
Don't forget that. Well, yeah, they did. Remember, because that's when Kane took the mask off and he chokeslammed Eric Bischoff off the stage.
But did he feud with Van Dam at all?
Yeah, he feuded with him for one pay-per-view and a couple of Monday Night Raw matches. They had really good matches, but of course they had the books Kane strong, and he went over.
I just remember that was the end of Van Dam. It just nothing else came of it.
Well, here's the thing though. Back then, you remember the Intercontinental title meant something back then. We had guys like Shelton Benjamin. People disparage him now for working a tag team in ROH, but he was a solid wrestler. We had guys like him. He was still facing Guerrero. He was wrestling Christian. He was having really good ladder matches. He was still wrestling hardcore matches. And, he was doing okay. And finally, they decided to let him win Money in the Bank, and he gets his world title push, and then, the whole arrest thing ruined it. What makes me angry about that is, okay, you have that. You immediately suspend the guy, take both belts off of him, yet Jack Swagger is allowed to continue wrestling actively for you, and you don't even suspend him for 30 days for driving under the influence.
It's like a double standard. But I don't know if they really like Van Dam anyway.
Well, they do and they don't. I think it's the fact that he said a couple of times he didn't really feel like he knew where he stood with Triple H, and I can see that because, Triple H is one of those people where if he sees something in you and if he likes you, he'll take the belt off of himself and give it to you, or he'll find a way to give you another push using that other belt. And I don't think they were ever tight enough. Plus, don't forget, Triple H is Vince McMahon's, son-in-law. And anything that's not from WWE, because RVD is more known for ECW, they're really reluctant to pull the trigger and give anybody that kind of trust again. Look at Christian. They brought him back after his run in TNA. He was world champion for 2 days, Chris. 2 days. Because SmackDown technically takes place on a Tuesday.
Didn't they waste time with JBL, though? I think Van Dam could have just filled that role.
You know what? Honestly, though, a lot of people knock JBL, but I have to be honest.
He helped carry SmackDown.
He did.
But Van Dam could have. I think
he could have. Yeah, but here's the. they were basically just warming up Cena to become a superstar, and they needed JBL to use.
Why waste time on Cena when you had Van Dam right there? That's my point. Cena all that time, you could have been pushing Van Dam all that time. Well, he could have been the biggest thing.
Here's the bigger argument, though. You needed to prop up SmackDown, and you had Cena on SmackDown. You could have had RVD win the World Heavyweight title from Triple H and not bothered as much with Batista. Batista got over. Don't forget he was in the main event at 21.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as big of a star as Cena, and we all knew it. He was a better wrestler.
That's why I just don't understand. Like, you had the talent. Van Damme can talk on the mic. He can do it all.
And he can wrestle.
Why didn't they, it was his time back then, but they would push Cena for no...
A lot of times they get tied to two guys, and those two guys are, the standard bearers for each show. Look at The Undertaker. He carried SmackDown for years, even if he wasn't the champion. And, I can't honestly say they did anything wrong with JBL. I loved how they built him up. He was that heel that you always tuned in because you wanted him to lose, but I never saw a bad JBL match during that time.
Do you think the Jericho title run could have been substituted by Rob Van Dam?
I think you could have had a better feud with Jericho and Rob Van Dam instead of Triple H.
Well, not even that, like Triple H against Van Dam. I mean, you would have Jericho and Van Dam.
Well, the problem with that was, you remember how many times we saw Triple H versus Van Dam before Triple H's face turn?
Yeah.
So, and he had better in-ring chemistry with Jericho. His matches with Jericho were the ones I remember the most.
Well, I don't even know. Well, Triple H didn't come back till... Van Dam was there in 01. Triple H didn't come back till January 02.
Yeah.
Triple H never wrestled him, I don't think.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
He wrestled him like 3 times in the summer.
He wasn't there in the summer. He was hurt.
Well, no. Remember when Triple H first got... Oh, I'm talking 2003. You remember when they
Not
split?
01.
No. Mm-mm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even in 02...
Well, he was too busy holding up the mid-card, though. He was feuding with Regal and people like that.
Well, he was saying, too, like, Jericho and him were fighting for, like, that spot, And it's tough. I mean...
But you know what the funny thing is? Jericho only defeated him on TV once.
Who, Van Dam?
Yeah. RVD was like 9-1 against Chris Jericho in WWE.
I stopped, like, religiously watching WWE in, like, 02.
Plus, don't forget, he was also competing with Edge before Edge got injured. Edge was one of the hottest things in wrestling then, too.
That was another one. See, those are two guys that definitely, That's what's tough about wrestling. There's tons of guys there, and you can have a great roster, and guys that are talented and just as good are going to fall through the cracks because of injury,
I don't necessarily...
politics...
I can't say that about Edge because, he carried that company for 4 years.
He helped, yeah.
That whole summer when everyone went down until he got hurt, he was the only thing holding a belt that made that company interesting. Because I remember Orton got hurt, Michaels got hurt, Taker was hurt. You had all these people that were injured. Cena was out for a period of time, I think.
When did Edge get hurt? 03? He got hurt in 03 because he was in the Rumble.
Yeah, he was supposed to be... He didn't...
Something happened. I don't know who he got... What happened? If he wrestling, but
he hurt his neck.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
I don't know his last match.
His injury didn't even come from wrestling. I don't think. I think it came from. In his DVD, he talked about it. I think he dropped a dumbbell on his neck.
Yeah, something like that. Or he was at the gym and he felt something wrong.
Yeah, he hurt his neck really bad. That's why he's an inch shorter now. He had to get that surgery.
I don't know when he left. I don't know if it was like around WrestleMania time, I guess.
Well, you remember he came back in 2005, and then they started pushing him as a heel, and then he won the Money in the Bank.
I remember him back in 04. He was there. He was in that Battle Royal, and him and Jericho were at the end or something. They both fell to the floor. Or him and Benoit were at the end. They both fell to the floor thing. Something like that, because I have it on tape. I don't know. That's another guy.
That was that period of time when...
That was like that weird time for Edge.
It was that time when they didn't know... You remember Taboo Tuesday? And
it
was supposed to be... You had to vote for Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, or Edge.
Yeah.
And he narrowly finished second to Shawn Michaels because of... They had just recently turned him heel, but he still almost won the belt. They actually wanted to change the finish of that because Michaels had a knee injury, but he went out and worked the match anyway.
With Edge, the problem was I don't know. To me, like, I always want to remember Edge is like 2001, 2. That was the Edge for me. Like, that's the one he's in the best shape.
2006. Yeah, granted he wasn't in the best shape,
but storyline wise, he was good.
The guy got a good match out of John Cena. Do you know how few people can say that?
I want to watch that match now. Was that ECW?
No.
Oh, that's him and Foley and all that.
Yeah, okay. That was really good.
I love that.
It was actually the one that I thought he should have won in his hometown, the ladder match.
Whenever
he made he made himself a new spinner title, the Rated R spinner.
Oh, wow.
And he lost to Cena in a ladder match. But it was a really good match.
WWE was weird back then because like there was so much.
I loved it though. I gotta be
honest.
Hodgepodge. I was so happy, but like between 2005 and probably 2010, because The Undertaker was getting world title pushes, Edge was champion, Michaels got a couple of main event shots, even though we knew he wasn't going to win, which is kind of a waste of time. Orton was getting good. all my favorites were there. RVD was there until he left.
Yeah, I mean...
And, like, around that time, everyone that I liked started leaving, and I'm like, wow, WWE really sucks without these people.
My problem with WWE is, and I think they do it on purpose, they can't have the best there at all at one time. They always have, like, something... Like, for the Invasion, they had, crappy WCW guys come in for the most part. And then they had the NWO come in, like, 6 months later. And then, like... They brought in some other guys, but no one ever comes all at the same time. Like they didn't bring Goldberg, Steiner, and even with ECW, they had spurts of people.
Well, don't forget though. I mean, those were people from a different company, and you can't just bring them all in when you're a WWE company.
I was surprised they didn't bring the Road Warriors in. That was odd to me. Like,
didn't they try?
They did later, but they didn't bring them in for the Invasion, which that's a core WCW tag team.
Was Hawk dead by then?
No, that's before he died in 03. They brought him back for that crappy Raw where like. They looked out of shape and just did nothing.
Are you still angry about them losing to Kane and RVD?
I thought it was garbage, and I'll tell you why. Even though they're the tag team champions, they could have did like a double DQ or something.
I got to admit, I was like legitimately worried as a fan back then because I'm like, oh my god, it's a Legion of Doom. They're never gonna win, and then somehow they beat the Legion of Doom, and I was like, okay, this was why was this an 8-minute match?
Well, I was surprised how out of shape they got because like I watched Legion of Doom like 2 years earlier, not even almost like a year and a half earlier, and they looked. Like they always did, and then they came on Raw, and it's like, what happened?
Do you remember when they did this ridiculous thing and they turned Animal heel, and he was walking around in jeans, and they were just calling him the Road Warrior?
That was like the old game with the leather. Yeah. What happened though? Like, when did that quit? Like,
what happened? He turned 54 and was awful.
But, I know, but did he get released? What happened? Like, because he was there on SmackDown.
He was completely useless.
Did he have like a match or anything? Like, I remember him at Mania.
Oh yeah, he was feuding with Matt Hardy of all people.
I remember that. Then what happened? That was it. When did he get released? April, May? He got thrown out of the Battle Royal in Chicago. Everybody's pissed. They thought he was going to win.
I saw him once and went, ha, and that was about it.
Because that's when they had like Tatanka and Bobby Lashley and the Mexicans were running everywhere.
Tatanka was awesome back then. I hate Bobby Lashley.
I liked him when he came, but then like he came on ECW and just ruined the show. See, that's a whole other show to get back into. Why would you have Bobby Lashley, who's never even seen ECW, like they would always make somebody else that has nothing to do with ECW the champion.
I was reading an article on WWE.com the one day while that was still going on, when they were doing that, and it was Batista did a shoot on the fans, and he was really angry at the crowd in Philadelphia. He goes, I don't understand this. Big Show and I went out to work a match, and we did our best. We put on a 10 to 12 minute main event match for these people on ECW. And I don't know why they were unhappy. Well, you know what? I'll tell you why they were unhappy. Because you're two WWE stiffs working a match in ECW and being imported to them. It's not like when The Undertaker went to ECW for like 2 weeks and people were like, oh my god, The Undertaker, we never got to see this before. It was like the people they didn't want.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Angle's one thing, but the Big Show and that, Kurt Angle even has a little ECW history. Not much, but a little bit. But you can't put, they would always put in WWE guys thinking like they needed, you don't need to carry it.
I mean, you can put WWE guys there that have the style, and if the fans will accept them. They weren't crazy about Orton, but they liked the match he had with Angle, and they were okay with it for one time.
Yeah, it's not bad. Why not?
And Edge, they embraced Edge because of the hardcore background and him being endorsed by Foley and everything. So they like that.
It's okay to do that stuff on the pay-per-views because they used to do that stuff, that cross-promoting all the time.
Yeah, but doing it on a weekly show and you make that your main event and bog it down when I wouldn't even want to see that match on Raw.
Ugh. Well, just real quick with Zeb Coulter, is he still with Jack Swagger?
Jack Swagger actually has a hand injury, and he's currently gone. Jack Swagger was actually supposed to win. I guess Jack Swagger... Well, here's the thing. Swagger was the new #1 contender, not Del Rio. He beat Del Rio. Because remember when Ziggler had his concussion? A month before, at Extreme Rules, he beat Del Rio. But he hurt his hand on Raw. He broke it, and he's not going to be back till SummerSlam. So, really... I guess the plan would have been for Jack Swagger to beat Ziggler instead of Del Rio. Now they turned Del Rio heel and turned Ziggler face, which it doesn't matter. He's not going to get over anywhere outside of Chicago. And Del Rio really couldn't get over as a face either, except in Hispanic populations.
But isn't this Zeb Coulter he has a phobia of foreigners, so isn't this guy foreign?
Well,
Antonio Cesaro?
Here's why this makes absolutely no sense
Exactly.
to me. Antonio Cesaro is booked as a global wrestler.
Yes.
His whole gimmick, originally he was a rugby player, which I laughed at. And I was like, do we really need another occupation? This isn't the early 90s.
I know.
That's another game that we need to do, by the way, for these podcasts. We need to do, a 5-minute scramble and then like have a contest. So have like list all the wrestlers in WWE that were actually real jobs.
Oh, you got to watch this Bunkhouse Battle Royal, man. Everyone that has an occupation's in it, and plus Lenny Poffo's in an armor, like knight armor, beating people up. Figure that out.
But yeah. So it makes no sense. But apparently he's all anti-American. But now he's with Zeb Coulter.
It makes no sense at all.
I mean, it would have been funny if this was the 80s and they did like a really crappy Bobby Heenan segment where they go like to like a records office and find that he has an American birth certificate. Like that would actually be funny.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand this.
It's poor writing, it's crappy planning, and it's just last minute.
I got to admit though, at least they're pushing one of the best wrestlers they have.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I've
Thank
watched
God.
This guy, and I can't necessarily tell you who exactly he reminds me of. I used to know. He just has a really old school amateur wrestling style. Not Kurt Angle. He's bigger than Kurt Angle. Not Mr. Wonderful. He reminds me of oh man, I honestly can't think of it. But he has a really good power game, and he has some technical skill.
That's good.
I mean, he's one of their legitimately better wrestlers, and I'm just glad that he's getting over and not losing by DQ all the time now.
Well, it's just funny, though. It's typical WWE hodgepodge. We're not going to listen to the previous storyline.
And real quick, I'm not even going to bother recapping Payback because it was absolute garbage, and I expected it was going to be payback for all the shit they've put us through, and they were going to give us a good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
There was one thing that really, really confused me and all of my friends that were watching this pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of my friends that streamed it later texted me last night about it, and I wasn't... apparently he picked up on it too. There was what appeared to be an Aces and Eights member in the Lumberjack match. He was over in the corner behind one of the ring posts, and you didn't see him that much. I don't know if he's like, they're making fun of TNA and NXT or what they're doing.
Could be.
But he looks exactly like Mr. Anderson. He's wearing a black
It
vest.
is Mr. Anderson.
He's younger. He's wearing a black vest with a thing and jeans.
Well, there you go. He'll probably get over more than Aces and Eights.
They kept panning the camera away from him, and we're looking at him. We're like, "Who is that guy?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then I asked my friend that watches Raw constantly. I'm like, "Who is he?" He's like, "I don't know." He even watches NXT, and he knows who the hell these people are, like the Wyatt family. Don't even get me started on those freaking cannibal losers. But
oh boy.
He's like, honestly, I've never seen him before. I'm like, is it Tyson Kidd? He goes, no, that's not Tyson Kidd. I'm like, well, I forget what he looks like. It's been years.
It's Jesse from that, Jesse and Festus.
No, we really don't know who he is. We're like, why is there an Aces and Eights guy at ringside? Are they just making fun of it?
Probably. Or the gimmick happened before Aces and Eights in OVW or wherever. Not OVW, whatever whatever that is. Maybe 2 years ago or something. I don't know. But the bottom line here is we're worried. I don't think the Van Dam thing's going to last. I say year tops and he's back in TNA or somewhere else.
I don't think he'll go back to TNA. He's probably making more money
for
his limited days than he would make a year working live events and everything else in TNA. TNA is the cheapest wrestling company I've ever seen, and I hate it.
Well, I wish they would just, It's frustrating watching TNA because where they're at now is where they should have been in 2004. Like, I remember watching the XWF come on. They had freaking pyro, a whole studio, everything on the first show. TNA, they had an arena.
No, TNA still had pyro. You know what?
But they were junky. And then they moved into that Asylum, which was embarrassing. And then we got to Fox Sports.
The Asylum compared to the Impact Zone, the Asylum was paradise. Compared to that stupid kids-looking...
Well, it was horrible, but it looked more professional in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... But I like
TNA, the Dancing Ring Girls, personally.
Oh, yeah, that was always nice. I mean, that's nice for everybody. But
I mean, from a talent perspective, I was much more interested in Raven being World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And feuding with Abyss than I am in most of the people they have now. I mean, I know they have more exposure and they have more stars, but...
They just use them so badly.
That's the biggest problem, the booking.
But see, you got Bruce Pritchard in there. I don't know what he's doing. Not much.
Obviously the wrong things.
It's just like, are people there just to sabotage this company? That's what I'm starting to think. Like, they're just not helping.
Did Pritchard come at the same time that Van Dam and everyone showed up in 2010, or was he after that?
No, he was after that. It was like another year or so.
So, really, the scary part is, whenever all the new people came in, Vince Russo was actually booking a better show than Bruce Pritchard. I hate to say it, but it's true.
I don't know what they're going to do. Jesus, give me a ticket. I'll help you write. It's not very hard.
I actually applied to them. They never got back to me. I've sent them 5 resumes, and I applied to WWE. Of course, I didn't expect them to get back to me because from my experience and my knowledge of the product, turned into a 2.5-page litany of everything they do wrong.
Nice.
Which is probably why they never got back to me.
That could be true.
But TNA, I actually legitimately tried to get a job with.
Nice. What department? Promotions? Marketing?
Communications.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dixie Carter never accepted my Facebook request, bitch.
Oh, she accepted mine.
She accepted you?
Yeah.
She said she had too many friends and couldn't be my friend, but I can join the official TNA Facebook
A
page.
likely story. Well, I think that's what happens. They get a certain amount. But Van Dam, I mean, I'm sure he'll make the money, and that's... I don't know if this is the last run there, though. I doubt it. How was he, 40?
39.
All right.
I mean, the shape that he's in, the way he keeps his body, a lot of wrestlers, they get hurt because they stiffen up, and they're not flexible enough. He's not going to have that problem.
I just don't know what they're... I mean, he's good, and he's like a legend and stuff, but...
That's my problem, though. Are they going to bill him as a legend and then just have him put over talent like they're doing with Jericho?
It could happen.
Because if they start doing that, I'll tune out completely. And I'll watch nothing but TNA.
Which is tough, because I'm in that situation.
You know what, though? You and I differ on the whole AJ Styles gimmick. I like the new gimmick. The hair is...
I'm just tired of him.
The hair is absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. Actually, I think 90% of it is the new music.
I like what they did with him earlier on, but then it was just like, all right, By 06, I was spent. I couldn't take anymore.
Well, whenever they threw him in a robe and put him with Ric Flair, I'm like, okay, so you have one of the most notoriously unathletic champions in history being put with someone that was a former Olympic gymnast. This makes no sense.
Yeah, it was a bad move all the way around. You don't put AJ Styles, you put somebody else more flamboyant than Styles. It just doesn't work.
Styles was still wrestling a high-flying style at the time. He wasn't doing his power game like he's doing now, which I like.
I remember that match, too, with the Pope. Oh, God. They were pushing that for months.
Do you remember how god-awful him and Flair versus Abyss and Hogan was? How embarrassing that was?
That should have been on pay-per-view.
I called you and complained. The second I saw how bad it was, and you're like, what's happening? I said, I don't know. I changed the channel. You said, why? I said, because The Undertaker is talking to Shawn Michaels. You're like, wait, there's a wrestling match going on? And you'd rather watch The Undertaker talk? I'm like, yes. And you know who agreed with me? 230 million other people, because no one watched TNA at that time. They had their lowest rating ever on that show.
Well, that was a bad move to go to Monday so soon, because they brought in all the oldies, but no goodies.
Well, that's like whenever Donald Trump decided in the AFL, hey, let's go right up against the NFL in the fall. No!
That was a bad idea.
They went out of business because of it.
Stick with what you know, but I just remember that was everybody from the Hulkamania tour.
Except Umaga, because he died before it.
I don't know if Hogan was like... I know he's going to start the XWF up again, and I don't know if that was kind of like a thing saying, like, hey, sign me, or whatever. I don't know. I think that would be more fun to watch. I would have enjoyed that.
I don't know.
But now we're here with this. I mean, TNA has its ups and downs, but as long as they got a TV deal, they're good. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh, we know that. There is no movement between now and Bound for Glory. Do you realize that? We have to watch a bunch of qualifiers.
I don't want to watch them. I am so against that garbage. People love it. I think it's junk.
I know, but literally, they're holding us hostage until Bound for Glory because we know the world title's not going to change hands. I like Chris Sabin, but I know damn well they're not going to put the belt on him. By the way, Destination X is no longer a pay-per-view.
That's what hurts on the television.
It's going to be on July 18th on Impact. Woo!
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Kenny King and a whole bunch of triple threats and a shitty Ultimate X match and Chris Sabin attempting to beat Bully Ray.
I hope we get an 8-man battle royal. Those are always my favorites. Gauntlet style.
I want the Planet of the Apes stage.
Yes. Well, that came. I think that didn't come back at the X pay-per-view. It was just a normal cage.
Do you remember when we thought that, like, we were worried that Suicide was going to be their big free agent signing, and then it was Rampage Jackson, we were just like, oh, no.
Well, they love to waste time on people that no one wants to see wrestle. I mean, they're big at that. They love that.
Fighting tonight. I hope he gets knocked out again, so they quit talking about him. King Mo.
Okay.
He's fighting on Bellator tonight.
Oh, we got to watch that.
No, we don't. I hope.
I just want to watch him get knocked out.
I just hope he loses. He's fighting the guy that knocked out Kimbo Slice.
Oh, well, that's...
Seth Petrozelli, the guy with pink hair.
Yeah, that was quick, huh? What was that fighting group that he wrestled for? That whole thing?
Oh, I think that was Elite
XC or something?
FC, yeah, Elite
FC.
FC or Elite XC, something like
I
that.
heard they got bought out though, like shortly
They
after
went
that.
bankrupt.
Yeah, UFC or someone bought them.
Strike Force bought
Strike
some
Force.
of their guys.
Is Strike Force gone, or is that still there?
Strike Force got folded into the UFC.
Everything went to UFC, even
Bellator's on its own though; they're doing well.
Yeah. What's that other one that used to have? Pride. I used to love Pride.
Pride got bought out by UFC too.
Pride, man. Are they still around though?
No.
Like Pride, man.
Japan didn't have enough. They didn't. They had the interest, but they didn't have the fighters.
I love Pride, man. They used to do crazy matches. That was old school stuff, though. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it could never get sanctioned here though with the rules that they had and the 10-minute rounds and whatnot. It was too tough to get here.
Well, they watered that down so much now they can get it on TV. But the closing segment, I guess. Van Dam, good, bad that he left. I don't know. That's what you make of it, I guess.
I mean, I hated how he was being used in TNA. As soon as they had him lose to Kenny King, I loved when they put him in the X division. He was great at Bound for
Something
Glory.
to do, I guess.
He smoked Zema Island.
That was a great match. I haven't seen that kind of match from Van Dam in a while.
He was motivated, and then they were just like, "Yeah, we're gonna have you lose to Kenny King in some of the worst matches I've ever seen."
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Kenny King after his feud with RVD, but he went from being promising young talent to one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen.
Isn't that interesting how TNA makes wrestlers you really care about and want to see horrible, and you never
honestly,
want to see them again?
I think honestly,
they're great at that.
I think he worked his ass off in ROH, and that was fool's gold. And then when he went to TNA and got a little bit more money, he quit trying, or he tried too hard and just ruined everything.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh. Well, I mean, I guess that's it for good luck, RVD, and
the worst part is
future endeavors.
I was able to tune out for months at a time because The Undertaker got written off until SummerSlam, and now I have to come back a month earlier because they re-signed RVD. Do you know how angry that makes me?
Well, it's gonna be The Undertaker and RVD. You'll be
torn
torn between two lovers.
He has to feud with the Shield.
Ugh.
I don't even care anymore. Oh, by the way, just real quick hits on those of you that follow the Shield. I like the group and whatnot. They lost a match. You want to know when their big first loss was? Not WrestleMania. Not SummerSlam. Not even Payback. They lost a 6-man tag match on SmackDown.
Who did they lose to? Like the Hip Hop Hippo? And
Kane,
all that?
Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton.
Oh, wow.
3 people that should never be part of a tag team.
How did that get together?
Why is Randy Orton even working matches with Daniel Bryan and Kane to begin with? I thought he was your big star.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're begging. He's been begging for them to turn him heel, and they won't do it. They keep pushing it back. He was supposed to turn heel at Survivor Series. It is now June.
Maybe they feel like merchandise is going good. I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't bought a wrestling T-shirt since I bought my CM Punk T-shirt. I have to be honest, because of all the marks and everything that wear it, I'm embarrassed, and it was a waste of $8. I won't even wear it. I wear it to cut the grass. I don't want to be seen in it.
I think I bought a Batista shirt once when we were at Raw.
I think I have that.
SmackDown, yeah.
I borrowed it for some reason.
I just gave it to you. But it was funny, like the guys down on the street.
Just selling them, yeah.
They're like $10. Then later on in the night, it would turn to $5. I tried to get them really low to get to 4 to 3. Yeah.
I am glad that I have my Rob Van Dam TNA T-shirt because that's going to be collectible because he was only there for 2 years.
It was very very brief. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, literally almost 2 years.
3 years.
Well,
maybe.
3 years, but it was 3.
Yeah.
Solid 3. That was good while it lasted. We knew it wasn't going to last forever, and it was kind of a tease because you always had a feeling he was going to jump back.
How do you lose a former world champion in another company, though? I mean, that makes
TNA,
so
man.
angry.
We can do it. This is not acceptable, TNA. Or,
you know what the
Tough Negotiations Association.
They were so far out of the loop that they didn't know until they aired the promo on the pay-per-view. TNA didn't know until they saw the promo video. They had someone watching the pay-per-view, and then they instantly took his thing off his profile off the roster page. I'm like, you were that shocked that you didn't have an answer from him?
This is just horrible, though. Like, who's in charge? What's going on?
Is anyone in charge?
Exactly.
Or are the right people in charge?
No, and there's never a wrestling person that's solid for the product in charge. Of course not, no.
Nope.
It's always a non-wrestling person because that's how these companies run.
Unfortunately.
God. Well, bye RVD. It was fun while it lasted, sort of.
Now I'm held hostage and have to tune into Raw now and then. Thanks. Well, I'm Peck.
I'm Chris.
God damn it.